Good morning, YouTube. Another beautiful day on the Nehalem River, low tide. And today I think we're going to work on Addams family, but we'll take a look at all the games just to see which one's the dirtiest. And I hope you're having a good day. Let's see if I can have a good day. Let's go. Welcome to North Coast Pinball. I think I'm supposed to say, welcome to behind the scenes at North Coast Pinball. Isn't that what I say? I don't have a catchphrase yet. All I have is hello YouTube, which is what everybody says. What do you think of this? So, I think today is Addams Family Day. A little dirty, and I think it's the dirtiest. Let's just take a look at the rest. I'd give that like a B minus, even a C plus. Roadshow, B minus. Iron Maiden is almost ready, B minus. Attack from Mars is a B. Funhouse is a B. Jurassic Park is a B minus. World Cup Soccer is a B. Getaway is a B minus, especially because the shooter lane, the shooter doesn't fire the ball all the way up and around to the right flipper, so I got to work on that. Twilight Zone is a B plus. I'm looking just above the flippers for dirt. Bride of Pinbot is a B plus. Jaws is brand new, hasn't been cleaned yet. That's a B plus. Monster Bash is a B minus and needs some work. The inductive sensors by the flippers aren't working correctly, and those need to work in order for the auto flip feature, the phantom flip, to work. So I got to get to work on that one. Fishtails, B plus. Star Wars, ooh, B minus, C plus. Star Wars is getting dirty. Do you see the ball trails? Whirlwind, B minus. Circus Voltaire, B plus. Deadpool, A minus. Elvira, A. It's pretty clean. I just got this pretty recently. That's an A. Space Station. Hocus Pocus, A minus. Matahari, A minus. I got all my GoPro stuff on top of these. I don't know if you have pinball machines in your house, but they become workbenches really quick. Cyclone, A minus. Taxi, B plus. Starting to get dirty. Theater of Magic, such a gorgeous game. So special, this game. That'd be an A minus, B plus. Godzilla. We just did Godzilla, so it better look like an A. Okay, but before we do any of that, I have some voiceover to catch up on. So let's get that done, and then we can get to work on Addams Family. Let's do the thing. This is what my voice sounds like when I'm reading a script at my desk. And this is where I'm supposed to say that leaving a like and clicking subscribe and clicking the bell and sharing my videos really actually helps the channel. You should also visit northcoastpinball.com for cool merch and to learn more about Nehalem's little pinball sanctuary. Thank you, and now let's get back to pinball. There they are. Now when it says press enter for test report, what that is a game saying, hello, there's something amiss. So what we do is open it up and press the little button that says begin test. That's the enter key, really. That's the escape key that says service credits. That's the enter key. And if I hit this button, it tells us what's wrong. Switch 353, bookcase opto 1. And that's all. So it's got one error, bookcase opto 1. So we'll figure out what that is. I've worked on this before. If you look inside there at the bookcase, do you see 4 holes? Those are optical sensors, and more on that later. But first, I think the thing to do is to get this glass off and maybe start cleaning. And as discussed last week, I think probably what we'll do is use Novus 2. This game is a diamond plate game. See what it says, diamond plate? This is a diamond plate game, but it's got Mylar on it. So this is the boundary right here and here. And there's Mylar everywhere. And so as I said last time, we don't really have to think too hard about what we're going to use. But I think I'm going to use Novus 2. Because that's what seems to get up the most stuff. And it's only Mylar. All right, let's get to work. All right. Are we in the movie? Hello, we're in the movie. Whoa. Oh dear. All right. Let's do this. And now once this rag is nicely saturated, what I like to do is be as methodical as I can. So I'm going to focus on the drain area, get that nice and wiped and scrubbed, moving to the out lanes. To the in lanes. Let's have a look at what's going on here. I want you to get to see how dirty it is to start with. And then we just kind of get in here with this saturated rag. And that Novus 2 just tears up that dirt. I love it. I love it. In lanes. More different in lanes. Do you see that stainless steel thing under there? That's called a Cliffy. I have mixed feelings about Cliffies, but that's an aftermarket product made by a guy named, can you guess? His name is Cliff. And it can protect the wood under, in that slot. I don't know. That's probably a topic for a different video. One thing that's good to do is put this into a particular test mode. All lamps. Just blink all the lamps. And I don't know if that makes the movie better or worse, but it allows me, as I'm working on different parts of the playfield, to see, as I work, whether a given lamp is burned out or not working. All the lamps in this game are LEDs, so it's not likely that they would stop working, but they can stop working, and when they stop working, it's because, typically, it's because a contact has come loose. And so you take the bulb out, adjust the wiring a little bit, stick it back in, and that'll probably fix it. There is a correct way and there is a fast way. And maybe you could say that the fast way is the correct way. That's how I feel about it. But the correct way is to take a whole bunch of this stuff off the playfield. Take the caps off of the pop bumpers. Take the ramps off of the playfield. Maybe even strip the playfield all the way down to bare wood. And clean it that way. But golly, I don't have that kind of time. Look at all these nooks and crannies. All these nooks and crannies to get into. I'm just going to do my best at it. And my principle here is that every grain of dirt and dust and muck I get off of this playfield is going to lengthen the life of the game and increase my customers' enjoyment of the game. But I am not a purist or a completionist when it comes to cleaning games. I'm a completionist when it comes to video games and playing video games. Someday we'll talk about Cyberpunk. That's probably not for today either. How about that? Can you see okay there? So I did the drain, I did the out lanes, I did the in lanes. We're working our way up the playfield. Get all the edges. And all the nooks and crannies, even along the ramps. Plenty of dirt there. If you can get through cleaning a pinball machine without hurting yourself and drawing blood by snagging your hand on some sharp edge, then you deserve some sort of medal. I'll let you know when I cut my hand. I might not show you because, you know, I don't want to trigger anybody with blood or nothing. But usually I cut myself while I'm working on a pinball machine. The other thing about working on these games is that the best way for me to fall in love with a game again is to do this. I have had a rather poor attitude about Addams Family. It is the best-selling pinball machine of all time. It is the most economically successful pinball machine of all time that we know of. And my customers gravitate towards it. They love it. Everybody loves it. There's a certain kind of person who comes straight for Addams Family. And that kind of person is generally the kind of person that I want to be happy here. So, you know, we're always going to have this Addams Family, but I don't play it that much. But once it's clean, I bet you I'm going to have a much happier attitude about this game. And maybe I'll play it some more. And I'll play it today as well. I doubt that I'll have as epic a success with it as I did with Godzilla last week. That was a good game. That was a really good game I had. Nearly there. I often forget the shooter lane, so let's get that done. I'll let you see that. Much of what you see here in terms of that sort of muck is permanent. We're not going to make that look beautiful, but we will clean it a hair. It's better. Okay. And I'm having that feeling of, oh, what a beautiful game, what a special and lovely game. Because it is. It's an Addams Family, for God's sakes. Okay, I think I got most of it. I need to get up into there a little bit. So let me get my hemostat, plunk you down here for a second. And again, we're not gonna just, clean every nook and cranny, because I just, I don't want to take this ramp apart and put it back together. So we're gonna make it better. And someday, me or somebody else will get in here and make it perfect by taking it completely apart. The only game I ever took apart to that extent was my Twilight Zone. And it was a long time ago, and I don't feel the need to do that on a regular basis. All right. Now, another thing that I've heard recently that I thought was a nice idea is, now that that's done, we have this sheen of Novus 2 all over the playfield. And maybe I just leave that for now. You clean it, and then you work on the mechanical issues. And then when you're done fixing the mechanical issues, you can go back and wipe it down, get all the polish off. So let's move on to the next step, which is understanding what's going on with the bookcase. And so I'm going to go into tests to switch edges. There's two kinds of switch tests: the switch edges and the switch levels. Edges means when it detects a change in the state of a switch, it will report that change. And switch levels will simply tell you the condition of all the switches. And someday we should talk about what that matrix is. But that day is not today. I don't really care about levels. I care about edges, because I can go in here, for example, and trigger the end of stroke on the upper right flipper. And I can get in here and move my finger into the light beam. That's opto 4. Here's opto 3. Here's opto 2. And I believe it was opto 1 that was complaining. Nothing happening. So 2 is good, 3 is good, 4 is good, 1 is not good. So what could be the cause? Well, it's fairly straightforward. The reason I'm sighing heavily is that in order to resolve this problem, I do have to take it apart. I need to take the lid off of the bookcase, and I probably have to go at it from below also. And so instead of continuing to hem and haw over it, I'm just going to do it, because the camera's rolling and I only got so much battery. Let's go. So lift up the playfield and take some balls out. Only 3 balls in this game. All right. Now here's the bookcase from below. What you have is a motor that turns the bookcase. You have this, what would you call that? Like a jam nut. This keeps the height of the bookcase, which you can see here. If I wanted to adjust the height of it, I would loosen this nylon nut, and then I can hand turn this, which screws it up and down. But that's not the point. The point is, underneath, yeah, you can see it. I'm going to put a laser on it. So here's the plate, right? I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but above the plate is this nylon arm, which you can't quite see, but there's a nylon arm that causes the thing to turn. And then above that, I got a laser on it now. It's the circuit board. And so in order to reach that circuit board, what do I have to do? I have to take this motor plate off, disengage it from the nylon arm that causes the bookcase to turn, take the nylon arm off, and then service that board. This wire here is the wiring harness that goes into the bookcase and services the optos. And the way an opto works is you've got an LED, a light emitting diode that emits diode outside of our band of visual, outside of the visual spectrum. It's infrared, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that. And a receptor on the other side. So a light beam is created by an LED and received by a receptor on the other side. And when you interrupt that beam, the computer's like, oh, you interrupted the beam. And if you look at these wires, you see some colors. And the colors look like, you know, there's orange something, orange brown, gray yellow, gray orange, gray red. And those mean something. And this game is very helpful, just as an aside, at helping you diagnose things. So as I trip these optos, Bookcase Opto 4 is managed by white, blue, and green, black. Opto 3, white, green, green, black. Opto 2, white, yellow, green, black. Opto 1, well, I don't know because I can't trip it. But that's what the switch levels is for. I can go into switch levels, and can I scan through? Bookcase Opto 4. No, I'm not sure I can, actually. I would have to consult I have a piece of paper for that. And let me go get that piece of paper. Okay, I don't have the piece of paper, but I can get it on my iPad. Here we go. Bookcase Optos. Bookcase Opto 1, 2, 3, and 4. Bookcase Opto 1 is switch number 53, and it is in a coordinate system where green-black is on one side and white-orange is on the other side. So it's possible that somewhere I've got a broken green, black, or white, orange. But the nice thing about this matrix system, which someday I'll have to explain to you, or there's a lot of videos about this, if there were a big problem with green, black, it would be all the optos that would fail, and the shooter lane switch would fail, and the bumper lane opto would fail, and the right ramp exit would fail, and that's not true of anything. Conversely, if white, orange were broken, the start button wouldn't work. The center left jet switch wouldn't work. The chair kickout. So all those are working fine. All I have is a problem with the Bookcase Opto, which supports my hypothesis that we have a problem with the opto itself. So it will be easier, I think, to remove the top of this assembly and poke at the stuff from above than it will be to go at it from below. So that's what I'm going to go and do first. And then we'll see where that takes us. Oh, there's a PCB. And typically when you're working on this kind of thing, you can, if you wiggle just the right thing, it'll start intermittently working, and that will be a clue as to what's wrong. So let me go back into switch edges mode where it tells me about the transition state. And again, we have opto 4, 3, 2, but not 1. And what if I like wiggle stuff or just look for a broken wire? I don't see any broken wires. Hold on a second, let me think for a bit. Okay, these are the LEDs. And you can see they're the LEDs because the circuit board says LED. And so the emitters are on this side. And for this not to work, one of two things is true. Either the LEDs are not emitting light, or the receptor isn't working. Now what if, here's an idea, what if I slide these over by one? In other words, we know that this LED is good because normally it belongs here, right? And if I interrupt this beam, we're good. So what if I take this LED and I shift it over one and I interrupt this beam? Does anything happen? No, nothing happens. So I know that I am pushing light through this hole to that receptor because we know that this light is good because when it's in its normal spot, everything's fine. And when I put it here, a known good light emitter is not producing the result we want on the receiver side. So enough screwing around on top. This is good, and as long as I'm here, you know, we look at the solder connections. I can tell you that I have been here before, and I have resoldered all of this stuff. So as I poke at it, I'm not seeing broken wires. I'm being slightly rough with it, and I'm doing that on purpose because all the vibrations, anything that I can do as I'm manipulating this stuff by hand, all the vibrations are that much worse. So this is good, and this is good. Probably. We haven't proved it. But we've proved that that receiver is bad. So let's put this together, which is a really good way to prove yourself wrong. When you reassemble something before you're finished, that's a nice way to force yourself to do it again. But that's how confident I am that I've got this correct. Let's put it back together on the top side and then address the receptors on the bottom. By the way, do you know what this piece of plastic is here for? Tell me in the comments what that piece of plastic is here for. And if you do, I don't know, say something nice about you. That's a quiz. I don't know why I feel the need to tell you that I know the answer. Of course I know the answer. This should be tighter. There. Okay, let's make sure we didn't make it worse. Opto 4, Opto 3, Opto 2, Opto 1. As they said in some movie somewhere, we have to go deeper. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and turn the game off. And what we're going to do is get to work in there. Can I zoom it all for you? Nope. I got to figure out how to do that. Whatever. Can I tell you my favorite tool? One of my favorite tools is this thing because it really strongly magnetically attaches to the screws I'm pulling out, so it makes it really easy to remove or reinstall a screw without dropping it into this rat's nest of wire, because if you drop a screw in there, you might never find it again. Withdraw the screw, holding everything in place, and then gently, oh, one more screw still. Okay, that's loose. Behold, a bookcase. So now you can see the circuit board I need to get on. That's next. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. But on the left side of your screen there is an orange wire that's loose. You can't tell that it's loose, but it's loose. It broke off. So there's your problem. All right, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this out of the game, and we'll take it to a table, and we'll sit there at the table where you'll have a better view and I'll have better angles. So let me gently set this down somewhere. Disconnect the two wiring harnesses that connect it to the game. One for the motor and one for everything else. And a third one for some other stuff. There we go. One bookcase. Join me over here, won't you? I think that this is the way. So as I mentioned before, we loosen this and yep, maybe. I'm going to take this whole thing off, this little collar guy, and then we just turn this lifting this turntable off of the rest. But before I go any further with that, I would like to unscrew that nylon arm. With another one of my favorite tools, this little tiny ratchet from Victorinox. How else am I going to get on that? Boy, there's a lot of thread on that. There. Okay. Getting closer. Now I can show you what I noticed before. Opto 4, Opto 3, Opto 2, Opto 1. Do you think that's the problem? I do. This is the most common failure I see on any pinball machine, is somewhere a wire breaks off. And where it breaks is right at the edge of the little pool of solder. So inside that little pool of solder is a little bit of wire, and from all the vibration of this thing turning back and forth, it broke. Now the rest of these are at risk of breaking too, so I may be back. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I've fixed this once before. But the fix is fairly straightforward. Once you've got to this point, you know, I mean, this took us a lot to get here. But we strip a little bit off of this wire. Thankfully, there's plenty of extra. And I'm gonna, the wire that they used at the time, I don't quote me on this, but I think it might be aluminum instead of copper. It certainly doesn't look like copper. It doesn't look, it doesn't have the yellow copper look to it. But it needs to be tinned. And it's a little resistant to tinning. And if you have trouble getting solder onto a thing, you can always use a little bit of flux paste, but typically it's not needed. All we're going to do is use this delightful Pinesil, P-I-N-E, Pinesil. That's my favorite battery-operated soldering iron. We get some power from my little battery that's tucked away in my toolbox. The other end goes in here. I turn it on and it reports temperature. And once it gets to 300 degrees or so, we get going. Where's my solder? Uh-oh, my solder's not here. I didn't put away my tools properly last time. Wear eye protection. Maybe even better eye protection than this. It's not just that I can't see very well because I'm 52 years old, but also you do not want to splash molten solder in your eyes. That would be the most obvious remark that I'm going to make today. And this is a little fiddly, but I want to get the surface of the soldering iron on this new bare piece of wire. Start to see a little bit of smoke. I want to apply a little bit of solder to the iron and then transition from the iron to the wire in order to cause solder to soak into the wire until we see that it is evenly coated with solder. I don't know how well you were able to see that, but that's tinned really nicely. And the nice thing here is I can go in here and add a little solder to this pad. It's got enough, but let's just make sure it's kind of fresh. Make sure we're able to melt it. There's that little extra piece of wire that doesn't really need to be there. We can kind of clean that out of there, I suppose. That's pretty good. We don't want to create a short. We don't want that pool of solder to get much larger, but there's a nice little pile of fresh solder. And then we'll give this a little bend, because now we see how this wiring harness wants to be. The wires kind of want to head in that direction. So just kind of let it be like that. Rest it into position. Apply the heat. Melt all of it. Let it sit for a minute until it's too hot to hold any longer. Look at that beautiful thing. That's nice. And don't blow on it. It doesn't create the right crystalline structure if you blow on it. Once it's solid, I'm going to give it a little tug just to make sure that it's solid and to keep it away from whatever that is, because that would create a short on the other side. It's far enough away. I like it. I like it. Now we're ready to reassemble, and our game will be fixed. This Victorinox ratchet tool doesn't have a switch on it to toggle direction. You just take the bit out and put it on the other side. If you see the logo, then it's clockwise, righty-tighty. And if the logo is not visible, it's lefty-loosey. So logo visible, we're going to tighten the screw. But in order to do that, I need to raise the turntable a bit. And you don't want to over tighten this, and so it's a bit of an intuitive kind of feeling, and we're looking, because what is this digging into? It's going into plastic, so we can't over tighten this, which is another reason why I like this little ratchet tool. It prevents me from exerting too awfully much force, but I still have enough leverage to really screw this thing up. So as I go, I want to keep going until I start to feel a different amount of resistance. Let me get my finger out of the way so you can see that turn. That feels like the end. Because if you go too far, oh man, you do not want to break that. Goodness gracious, that would be lousy. All right, now we continue to lower this turntable. And we'll do the final adjustment on how high this turntable ought to be. You can see as I turn this, it raises and lowers it, right? We'll put the little nylon lock nut on here. We won't over tighten this because it's not in a spot where it's going to stay, but everything's together now. And we think we fixed it until another one of those breaks off. Let's go back to the game. Let's see. Orientation. There's not a lot of ways for it to go. 2 screws. Just if you don't remember, just sort of find the hole patterns. 2 holes really close to each other here. 2 holes really close to each other here. Simple as that. Gently. Try not to damage anything on your way in. Yeah, love it. It doesn't feel quite flush. And I'm not entirely sure why, but I think it's good. Is it? Yeah, that's good. These are so cool, because now I just go in here and find my hole for this screw, and in it goes. Now I'm not going to tighten it too much, just enough to get it seated far enough so that if it's disturbed it won't tear the wood apart. But I just want to get it roughly flush because I'm not totally sure that it's mounted correctly. Yeah, that's good. So I've got one down there, I've got one here. Let me get a third one here, and that will sort of secure it into position. And then I can gradually go around tightening these. I'll take that one all the way. Oh, that's stripped. I keep going. I didn't have to put a lot of power on it, and it just wouldn't take. So we'll have to fix that too. There's a clever way for fixing that. But instead of the lower one, I'll take this screw and put it in the upper one. See if I can get a bite there. And I can. Don't over tighten it, otherwise you'll take too much wood. There you go. And tighten this one. Yes. Nice and secure. Get this one down here. Yeah, that one's stripped as well. So I'm going to drive this screw into the hole next to it. And we have 2 screw holes to repair. That's fine. Will this one bite? Yes, don't overdo it, but it's, oh no, that one's no good either. Too bad. So I have three screw holes to repair, and I'll show you how I do that. What we're going to do is we're going to take some little bits of toothpick, and we're going to take some wood glue, and we're going to dab a little bit of wood glue onto the tip of this toothpick. Try to get this cap off and make that clean. A little bit of wood glue onto the tip of this toothpick. Doesn't take much. And break this off in the hole. And once I've broken it off in the hole, I can drive the screw in next to it, and that'll be a good fix. Let's see if I can show you this. are we? Can you see me? You don't see me yet. I'm trying to find it. Hold on. Where's my toothpick? Fire the camera operator. I want to show you this. It's very difficult to get the right angle. What a mess in here. Oh, there I am. Well, you can't quite see it, but I'm going in the hole and we'll break that off. Drive the screw in behind it. And you'll know you did it right if it feels like a correct screw at the bottom of the travel of the screw, because there's just enough extra wood in there to take it, and then it actually feels like you're tightening a screw. Don't over tighten it, but that's it. That's really cool. I love that technique. So we'll do that a couple more times. Now, the fact that there are 3 stripped holes in this playfield out of the approximately 6 mounting holes for this plate means that this thing has been on and off a few times. I'm not the first person to work on this. And hopefully not the last. I say hopefully, just not in a... just out of the sense that I'm going to have this game for a long time, but someday I'll be gone, and this game will still be here. In dozens of years, I will definitely be gone, but this game will hopefully be around still, entertaining people and making them happy. And they won't know that I was in here fixing this bookcase, but it will amuse them, and that's pretty cool. I didn't promise you discussions about philosophy or life. Not yet, but I'm making that promise now. All right, so these are all tight. All the screws are snug. They're all biting into the wood as they need to. Let us reconnect all the wiring harnesses. I didn't mention this before, but these wiring harnesses are matched in at least 1 or 2 ways. To begin with, the colors match, and so you don't want to put these in wrong. But another way is that these connectors are incompatible. Like if you try to plug this thing into this, it just doesn't fit, right? So that's a helpful thing that they did in these games to make sure that you don't fry something. Somewhat famously, Twilight Zone, the upper playfield with the magnetic flippers, has a couple of sets of connectors like this, and you can see from the color coding which one to plug it into, but if you're not paying attention to the color coding, you'll blow it up because it's the same kind of connector. Be careful. We're on the home stretch. Love being on the home stretch, especially because the battery is starting to run low on my camera. And it's time to see if this worked. So, now it's still going to throw the test report, or will it? Yeah, because we haven't proved to it that we've solved it. But if I go into tests, switch edges, opto 4, opto 3, the suspense is building, opto 2, opto 1. Love it. Good job, us. All right, time to finish cleaning the playfield. Maybe change a battery on my recording devices, and then we'll play this thing. Here I go. In the last video, I mentioned that stern refers to Novus 2 as the preferred wax for pinball play fields. And then I said with considerable authority, but Novus 2 is not a wax. I don't know if that's true or not. So if you do know whether Novus 2 contains materials that are similar to those in a wax in the sense that they, leave traces behind in the little nooks and microscopic crevices in the same way that a wax does, if you are aware of whether or not Novus 2 has that property, let me know in the comments. Don't just tell me the truth of it. Tell me how you know. Because opinions in this particular category are a little bit like something that's very common. You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? You were right. Would you look at this beautiful game? That's really good. The last thing to do is adjust the height of the turntable, unless we just got lucky. What we want is for it to be high enough that a ball won't do that, but not so high that the ball strikes the edge and causes damage or goes airball or whatever. So it's super close. I'm going to turn it like, I don't know, 15 or 30 degrees, and that should be enough. That might even be too much. Let's see. Is it conceivably possible for it to hang there? Yeah, but even the slightest wiggle breaks it free. So I'd rather it be just like super flush. And I feel like it's close. Maybe raise it a hair. Oh, the ball's gone now. Thank you. A little higher. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Okay. I'm gonna take a short break. I'm gonna replace the battery in my GoPro. And the next thing you're gonna see if you hang around a little while longer is me playing this game. Once or twice. Nice job, us. Look how pretty this is. And what a lovely game with a bookcase that works. And look, we back out of this. There's no dot after the 2. Because, I don't know if I've said this before, but if you see a dot after the number of credits, that means the game thinks something is wrong. So the fact that there's no dot means the game is satisfied that we've made the repair, which is great. I haven't addressed the rubber in this game. Someday we'll talk about that. These rubbers are okay. These rubbers are fine. So someday when we need to get there, we'll deal with that. All right. Shall we play this game? Let's play this game. Well, I mean, it's been an hour already, so I think maybe I won't play it today. I think an hour is enough. And I want to say thank you to you for watching this whole video. And I would like to ask you to tell me in the comments what you liked or why you stayed for the whole hour. And since you did stay to the very end, I'll give you a little tidbit after I plug my merch, which is available at northcoastpinball.com. And the tidbit is that you are deserving of love and you are deserving of happiness. And I hope that you find it. So thanks for hanging out with me at North Coast Pinball. And I hope you have a lovely day. Thanks for hanging out with me.